Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. First of all, I just want to thank everyone again for joining in to our webinar today. This is the third webinar in our, I believe, 12-part series on Knowify Pro training, where we're doing really deep dives into different parts of Knowify. And today, what we're covering is Knowify's smartphone app. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with the insides of Knowify as far as the web browser goes and how to do all of the basic demonstration actions that we cover when we're training you how to use the system. Things like creating proposals, invoices, all of that stuff that's done on the web browser, obviously very important to your business. But one thing that we find that we don't get enough opportunity to present to you is the smartphone application that your field staff is going to be using. And that's what I'm going to be covering here today. And so this whole presentation will be showing you a little bit more about the different features that are available in the smartphone app, how they work, and how your field staff or you, if you are a member of the field staff, are going to be using Knowify's smartphone application. But first, I always like to introduce myself. My name is Terrin Kalian. I run our customer experience team at Knowify. Basically, what that means is, if you're a customer at Knowify, at some point we're going to probably interact with one another. I oversee anything that involves, people actually using our software. And I've been working with Knowify for about 5 years. Before that, I held a couple of odd jobs in construction. Whether it was surveying or working with project managers. Just a little bit of an overview on different parts of the industry. Um, and just to give you some info on what we're covering in this demonstration today. First, I'd like to show you a little bit more about how to set up the app. Sometimes I find it's useful to just get your team in the office, get them all downloading the smartphone app, logging into the app, making sure that it's all calibrated. So I'll be covering a little bit about how that works. Then I'll be showing you how to view the details of a job in the smartphone app. Not just entering information, but seeing, learning about the jobs through the app. Of course, beyond that, I'm going to be showing you how to enter time and how to enter purchases, as well as other pieces of information that are relevant for the field staff to communicate to the office. And then I will also be showing a little bit more about our Foreman specific features, the things that not every user gets, but the users with Foreman permissions get on the smartphone app. And then once we're done, I'm going to go through a Q&A. If you have questions while I'm going through the webinar, please submit them in Zoom's question and answer field, and I'll follow up with them once I finish the quick demonstration here. I'm going to bring up my phone here so you can see what I'm working on as I go through all of this. And I'm going to start by opening up the App Store, just so you can see how to download the Knowify application from the store here. Pretty straightforward. What I'm going to be doing is just typing in Knowify, and you'll see it's just a free app that's available here. Just to save some time, I already opened or already downloaded the smartphone app to my phone, so we don't have to do it again here. But it's as easy as just typing in Knowify and downloading the free app from the store. Once we have it downloaded, I'm going to open up the Knowify application, and I'm going to log in as this user Ringo in my account, where I'll enter in the email address, I'll put in my password. Clicking the remember me makes it so the user doesn't have to log in as often, if they update the app or anything along those lines. I'll go ahead and click login now though. And what it's going to do is take me to the app calibration screen. And this is what your users will see when it's their first time logging into Knowify. First, it'll ask about language. The app is available in both English and Spanish. When I click continue, it's going to confirm that location services are enabled on the phone. Since I've already had the app downloaded, I already had this enabled, but this will basically prompt the user to let the Knowify app get access to your smartphone's location. So when they punch in and punch out, we actually know where they are at that moment. Next, it's going to prompt them to change their password. I know what my password is on this account, so I'm just going to skip this step. but that's just another option. So when the users are setting up the smartphone app, let's say they were started with a temporary password, this gives them the ability to, make one that they're going to remember more easily for times that they need to log in again in the future. Once we are on step 3, what it's asking us to do is basically test a check-in and check-out to confirm that the phone can in fact get your location and can communicate a time in and time out to the office. So I'll click check-in. Once it's successful, it'll prompt me to check out. Now that that's successful, it's going to show me my location. And if that's correct, then our app is calibrated. And then we'll show you actually in the admin section of Knowify, and perhaps we can cover that later on, that this user has successfully completed mobile onboarding. So they have the ability to check in and check out, at least at the point that they had set up their app initially. Now, what I see here is going to be the main screen of the Knowify smartphone app when I log in every day. And you can see the first thing it shows me is any jobs that I'm scheduled on. You see 1746, specifically the site prep phase, and then 1747, the drywall phase. And you can see that it's even telling me what time it wants me to go to each job site. And a lot of this is just built in from our scheduling features, which we can cover at a later date. Today, again, I'm really mainly just going to be covering the smartphone app itself. And to start my clock for the day, I simply click where it says check in on the phase that I'm working on. This will take my location and it will send that to the office as soon as it has a strong enough cell reception, and it'll start my time clock for the day. Once I'm done working for the day, I simply click check out, and it'll prompt me for an adjustment as necessary. Basically, this is just going to be a way for users who maybe they forgot to check out at the end of the day. They can adjust their time down, or if they forgot to check in and they checked in late, they can add the hours for the additional time that they were there and forgot to be checked in. I'll just go ahead and make a quick adjustment to my time so you can see what this looks like. And now I'll say I spent 4 hours here. And you see that it actually prompts us for a automated comment. I'm going to click I checked in late, and that's why I have to add in additional hours. And in this enter optional comment, you can submit more information along with this. And so that's just a way of you communicating with the office when you're checking in and checking out, so they have more information behind all of your time entries. And in this case, actually, I should show that when we submit a time entry, it actually goes to the app's time card, and I'll show you a little bit more about how to check that later on. But in this case, we checked in on a job that we had seen already. We had this scheduled. Well, let's say I was called and informed that I need to go to a job that's not on my schedule. I can click this plus sign at the bottom of the screen and click Find Job. This will let me search for different projects in my account. So let's say I'm actually still working on 1746, but instead of site prep, I'm going to be working on framing. I'm going to click on that phase, and it pulls open the job's details to show me where the job site address is. And then I can also perform other actions from this screen beyond checking in. I can click more actions to add time manually. So instead of a check in and check out, I would be, just plugging in how many hours I spent today. I have the ability to add purchases, enter parts that I've used. I can upload images, add comments. This is all part of the smartphone app, and that's a big part of the field communication beyond the time, is doing things like adding a comment and saying, "Just got to job site to work today." And then that goes to the office. So whoever's in charge of checking the jobs logs will get more information about what you've been working on. This images tab is where you can upload pictures as well. And that can be done from the, sorry, I accidentally checked in when I did that. But that can be your way of taking pictures of the job site. It can be a way to upload existing pictures that you have on your smartphone, anything like that as necessary. And then this is actually, since I accidentally checked in, it's a good opportunity to show that if you ever click check in by accident, this cancel button will stop the check in. So you can then start another check-in somewhere else. And then again, you also have the switch job option as as it's necessary. And so I've shown you how to go through the app and enter in time if it's something you're scheduled on, or if you pull up the job details. For some people, it might be simpler to get to time entry by clicking time card in this hamburger menu. Uh, this is where I can just click add time, write in how many hours. I'll click select job. And again, my scheduled jobs show up first just to make it easier. So let's say I ended up going to 1747 like I was scheduled on. And again, I can enter in a description of my work. But when I submit this time, it still adds as part of my time card without me having to do the whole process of punch in and punch out. Some companies don't require the punch in, punch out, and this is where you get that option. You can see that at the top of the screen, it's also showing me how many hours I've submitted today, this week. I can see how many were submitted yesterday, and you can jump around between different days too. And this is a way for your users to actually have the ability to see how many hours they've submitted each week without having to ask the office. It all lives on their smartphone, so they have the ability to view this and know if they need more or less hours to get to 40 hours a week. So you get a little bit more functionality there as well. Again, beyond just our time tracking, we also have the ability to manage purchases in the Knowify smartphone app. So again, in this menu, I'm going to click where it says purchases. I'm going to add a new purchase to a job. You see there are different options. I can add just a purchase, which means that it's made with company money, whether it's a company credit card or on a vendor spending account. Or if I expect the company to pay me back, you can click add reimbursement, and then the company will have a payable with you as the smartphone app user, as the person that needs to be paid instead of the vendor. But I'll go through the normal add purchase. That's a little bit more standard to what we see usually with the app. And this is where I can say what I purchased. I'll say gas. I spent 53.54 on gasoline. And I can add multiple items if I need. Let's say for whatever reason I want to track the cost of tax. I'm just going to, again, plug in some overarching items here. And then another option that's part of this is that if I don't want to just manually enter in an item, and I want a little bit of conformity and making sure, and I want to make sure that all of the items read true to the catalog in Knowify, I can click add item and click this magnifying glass to search for my catalog for different things that I've purchased in the past, or different things that may be part of the job's budget. And so that way you are using the actual item instead of just typing in something that may not match up with the Knowify budgets. But for right now, I'll just use this gas purchase. I'll click next. Vendor will invoice is going to be for cases where you're going to log a bill against this purchase later on. So let's say I have a Home Depot spending account. Vendor will invoice will keep the purchase open until I log a bill from Home Depot that includes this purchase. Saying that something is paid with cash or debit is just saying, I used company cash or a company debit card and this purchase is closed. And then paid with company card is a way for us to select a credit card account that syncs up with our QuickBooks account so that everything matches on their bank feed. I'll make this a cash expense right now. And it'll next prompt me for who the vendor is. And again, this list comes in from your QuickBooks account. So anyone who's from your Knowify account, but also from QuickBooks into Knowify. So I can search for any vendors that are part of the database, select the name, and then it'll ask for what job. And again, it always shows the scheduled ones first. It's a way to speed up the process. But if it's for something that wasn't scheduled, 1747, my app will search for different jobs that we have, different phases, and I'll be able to say, this is for 1747 like we have scheduled, but this is actually for the site prep phase, which wasn't an option because it wasn't on my schedule. Next, it'll let me upload a picture of a receipt if I need to, and enter in a comment. Had to stop for gas on the way. I'm going to ignore typos here. And then the last screen that shows will just be a summary of everything that this user is entering so they can make adjustments at this point if necessary. And when they submit this, it'll go into the office to the cost of the job, and it'll be part of the purchases module. This will also, if necessary, give the status of the purchase. So if I don't have enough approval authority, this would let me know if the purchase has been approved or not, which is important for things like reimbursements or if it was a situation where it was a vendor will invoice and I need approval before purchasing these materials, that's where I would get that functionality. You can also see that it gives a purchase order number at the top of this screen. That's an important thing that we find that a lot of our users are looking for is the ability to reference the PO number on a vendor will invoice purchase for later on when the bill comes in. So those are the basic functions as far as our base app goes. We covered how to check in and check out, how to manually enter time, how to enter purchases. We briefly covered comments and how to upload images. What I'd like to get into next is the Foreman view, and you can see where it says Foreman at the top of the screen. If I click on the arrow to the right-hand side of Foreman, you'll see that it's going to first show me a list of recently used projects in case I just want to re-reference an existing one. But I also have the option of searching for a different job that may not be available on the list by default. I can select which job I'm working on. And it's going to show me who's scheduled to work on this job first. So it makes it easier for me to check in other users. So you can see I have this check-in option. And now I can start a time clock for these 3 employees, even though I'm not logged in as one of them. And if it's a situation where, my employees are not scheduled on the job, but I do need to check them in, I can click where it says show all, and it pulls up the whole list. Foreman also have the ability to do a lump sum entry where I can click on where it says hours next to an employee, type in how many hours, and submit. And that submits to the time tracker review time section without us having to worry about whether or not this employee was scheduled and if we punch them in and punch them out. Other features from the smartphone or from the Foreman view are the ability to manage phases on a job. This is also where I have the option of sending out notifications to our crew with this bullhorn at the top right corner of the screen. So if I want something to push directly to the employees instead of having something that, I send a comment and I expect them to search for the comments, I can click add recipients. You see we're organized into crews, so I can see who I want this to send to. And I can send something that says like change of plans. We're working on site prep instead of framing today. And that'll push a notification right to their smartphone app that pops up without us having to, text them separately or anything along those lines. It just automatically shows up there. Also, since I have checked in users as a foreman at this point in time, if I'm back on this home screen, I'll actually be able to see who's checked in at this point in time. That way I don't have to open up the job to find who's checked in and then check them out that way. So this is where I have the option of checking out different users. And I can submit time for all of my different users that way as well. And I think that's just about everything I wanted to cover when it comes to the Foreman view. It's just a handy way to be able to punch in and out different users, in your company, so you don't need to give every single user part of the app. In other webinars we've covered, what a user with no access to Knowify is for. And this is a situation where, you can have one foreman as the user with mobile access, but the rest of this foreman's crew as a user with no access to Knowify, and then they have the ability to have their time tracked and costed to the job without having to set up every single person in the company as a user in the account. But now I'm going to go ahead and get to the Q&A portion of this. And I saw a couple questions come in as I was going. So I'm going to start with anything that's already been submitted. There's a question, do you have to enter purchase price and location in order to take a picture of the receipt? In our business, the office codes the receipts to the system so that the correct amounts and jobs are entered. You can always enter a purchase against an internal project if that works better for you. So that way you don't actually need to have a specific job or total price and mention. I would guess like when it comes to price, you could just enter in a fake price where you say, it was $1. And then, the office staff can approve or adjust it as necessary as far as price and job goes. The next question was, how do I enter a receipt or scan a photo on the app purchase? So let me open up my app again here just to kind of walk through that. So if I'm adding a purchase, and that little button at the bottom, the plus sign, also just pulls up a quick little view where I can see my schedule, see different jobs, enter time. But I can click purchase. I'll add purchase again. And you'll see that I'm just going to run through this really quickly. On this screen, I just click add receipt, and it will give me the option to either take a picture at this point in time, or I have the option of uploading an existing picture. So whatever works best, it's always an option in the account. My next question here was, can you go over which features are the plus sign again, or just comment them back to me? Sure. So I think I just covered that briefly, but just to show you again, in this little plus menu, we basically just have a quick find for different common actions inside the app. So it's my way of getting right back home. Another accidental check-in. It's my way of entering purchases, viewing my schedule. It's all just a way for me to quickly move throughout the app without having to open up a menu or go back to a couple screens. So we always have that option as well. There's a question about how do I enter in returns. We don't have anything built into the app for entering returns at this point in time. That is a good opportunity to use the comments feature of the app, where that will actually give you the ability to submit in a comment to the job to say actually return this item, so the team in the office can actually enter in either delete the purchase or enter in a credit, whatever they need to on their end. It looks like that's the last of our questions for today. I do appreciate everyone taking the time to join in again. And next week, we will have 3 more webinars that are more focused on revenue tracking in Knowify that I definitely recommend you join in on. And if you have any other questions or any requests, feel free to submit them to us, and we're always happy to help. Thanks, and everyone have a nice rest of your week.